Welcome to the ASP.NET Core DataGrid control tutorial. In this video, I'll demonstrate how to customize the rows of Syncfusion ASP.NET Core DataGrid using templates. In this demo, I'll add two columns to display employee images and details like first name, last name, and more. First, I'll open the existing ASP.NET Core web application where I have added the Syncfusion DataGrid control. I have also bound employee data to the grid control using the data source property. I've added the grid columns tag to display and customize specific columns with a few basic properties. To learn more about integrating the data grid control into an ASP.NET Core web application, please check the Getting Started video linked in the card above and the description below. Let me run this application by pressing the F5 key. Here, the grid is rendered with the columns employee ID, name, and more. Now, let me show you the step-by-step process of customizing the look of data grid rows using the rowTemplate property. As the first step, I comment out the existing columns and plan to add two new columns, one for employees' images and the other for their details, as I said earlier. So, I add the grid column tag and set the header text to employee image. Then I add the text align property to align the column data and set its value to center. Finally, I set the width to 250 pixels to change the default column width. In the same way, I add another grid column for employee details. Notice that I have not mapped the data source fields to the field property, as I will customize the row using the template. The data grid is rendered with two columns, employee image and employee details, with no data loaded. Let me show you how to load data to these columns and align them based on the demo I showed earlier. To customize grid rows, I need to add the rowTemplate property. Note that this property only accepts stable row tags. Before constricting the table data, I include the script tag and set its ID attribute to rowTemplate and type attribute to define the client-side template. Let's design the table with employee details. As I said earlier, it is mandatory to use the table row tag as the content of the rowTemplate, and the count of grid columns should be equal to the table data tags. Here, I declared two columns, so I will add two table data tags. In this table data tag, I'm going to display the employees' images by adding the image element. The root folder of this application contains the images of the employees, and I assign the path to the source attribute of the image element. Notice that I constructed the source path based on the employee ID data source field, and also added the alt attribute. Also, I add the class photo to align the image. Then I add the style element to define styles like border color, text alignment, border style, and more to align the image. For the next table data tag, I plan to display the employee details. So I set the class to details to align the table data. Since I will keep the same border color and style, I'll define it for both photo and details classes. Here, I add the table tag with the class as a card table and set the cell padding to 3 and cell spacing to 2. I add the column group tag and add the two column tags to align columns. Then add the table body tag and table row tag. I add the table data tag with a class card header and define the header as a first name. I add another table data tag and display the first name field value, accessing it from the data source. Similarly, I add table rows for last name, title, birth date, hire date, country, and email ID fields. For the date fields, the date object is converted to a string using the locale dateString method. Finally, assign this script ID to the rowTemplate property. Under the style element, I add styles like width and padding to align the table and its data tags. Look at the data grid. The rows are customized with the employee images in the first column and employee details in the other. Next, I'll show you how to render detailed rows for grid data using the detailed template property. Before proceeding further, let me show you what a detailed template is. In a grid or data table, a detailed template is a feature that allows you to display additional information or a detailed view for each row. This additional information is usually hidden by default and can be expanded or collapsed for individual rows as needed. In the detailed row, I'll show the same employee details as first name, last name, title, and more. In the grid columns tag, I comment out the employee image and details column, and uncomment the columns for employee ID, first name, title, and hire date with field mapping from the employee data. I change the rowTemplate property to the detailed template property and set the appropriate value. Assign this value to the script ID. Then, I change the right padding of the table data tag to 20 pixels to align data inside the detailed row. Check now, the grid is rendered with a detailed view for each row. When I expand the row, employees' images and details will be displayed. Let me quickly summarize. I showed you how to customize the appearance and behavior of rows of ASP.NET Core DataGrid using templates. You can download a working example from the GitHub link shared in the description below. You can also see if you're eligible for our community license, which will get you a free license key to use our products. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it useful, please like and subscribe to our channel.